Can you actually run a commercial cleaning company on 5 hours per week? And not even just any commercial cleaning company, but a large, profitable commercial cleaning company. Well, here's what happened with my commercial cleaning business, and I'm about to sound like a complete arrogant windbag.
Be $100 billion richer.
But I really want you to start with the reality of this so that whenever I explain the steps that you can take, it'll actually make sense and be exciting for you. So to answer the question of, is this even possible? I started my commercial cleaning business off in 2019. In under 12 months, it was doing over $550,000 in annual recurring revenue just from medical contracts. And I was actually able to completely step away from my cleaning business, start another business, and then a few years later, we actually franchised our cleaning business. And then a few years later, we were also able to start this YouTube channel where we help you learn how to do the exact same thing and build your own commercial cleaning business like I did. And guess what? I've never had to work full-time in my commercial cleaning business. In fact, I would say it's completely possible and is the current reality that my business takes less than 5 hours per week to run, and it's in the multi-seven figures. Now, I know that sounds prideful, and I know there's a Bible verse that says pride comes before the fall, so pray for me that I don't fall too hard. But I say all of that just so you can see the possibility. You can see that it's a reality. It became one for me, and I didn't even expect it in the first place. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do, just copy essentially what I did to build your commercial cleaning company to run on its own as soon as possible. Now, before we dive into each of these very specific tips, what we need to do first is bust a myth that we might know intellectually, but we need to get ourselves to feel just how detrimental it is. You see, we've all been told that we need to stop cleaning in order to grow our cleaning businesses. So we hear that all over the place. And even though we intellectually know that, what we feel inside is it says, if I clean, I make more money. Right? If we have $5,000 per month in accounts and we are the only ones cleaning those accounts, then we feel like we're making $5,000 per month. We don't want to go backwards on that. Nobody likes to make less money than they were making before. So before we can get into these tips where we even talk about automating our commercial cleaning businesses, here are a couple things that are going to help you deal with that internal temptation to keep doing any cleanings yourself. And I have been tempted before, even when we were at 7 figures. Here's the first reality that you need to deal with, and that is you only make what you would pay somebody else. So yes, your customers might be paying you a total of $5,000, $10,000, $100,000 per month. And what this reality is stating is that if you're doing any of the cleaning, you're technically not making that entire amount of money. Really what you'd be making would be a portion of that. So if you're going to pay somebody $15, $18 an hour to do the cleanings, then that is really the money that you're making. You're not making that full $5,000 per month. You're really making $18 an hour. And then what the business is making and what it pays you as the owner in profits is what is beyond that number. And your goal as the business owner is to focus on those business profits, the business earnings. All that you have, if you're doing any of the cleaning, is a glorified job where you have a mix of some business performance earnings that you get paid and some hourly pay that you would make because you'd be paying that to someone else anyways. So tell yourself, I only make what I would be paying someone else if I'm doing someone else's duties. And to compound this even more, you actually suffer a loss, and here's how. If your time doing $18 per hour work could have been spent doing $50 per hour work, then you actually suffered a loss. And that loss is equal to the difference of what you could be making or doing versus the value that you're actually putting out. So in that example, if you're not doing $50 per hour work and instead you're doing $18 per hour work, what you're losing is $32 per hour that's taking place. Is this money coming out of your bank account? No, but it's also not adding more money to the bank account and more growth and more healthy business practices into your company. And that is going to cost you the future with your business. So you need to feel that cost in you, because instead of feeling the money that you're saving, you need to feel the money that you're losing if you're doing any task, not just cleaning. If you're doing any task in your business that could be delegated to somebody else or some other software could handle it, then you need to figure out how to make that happen so that it doesn't cost you ultimately in your business. Okay, so when temptation comes for you to do a quick money grab and stay plugged into your business a little bit more, remember those 2 points. All right, let's dive into the tips. Tip number 1 is about priority of delegation. That's just a fancy way of saying, what order do you pass tasks off in your business? What order do you get things off of your plate in? In every company, there's 3 main parts of it that have to exist for the company to even function. The first one is called production. In a manufacturing facility, that is, who has to be out there operating the machines to make sure that the widget is made. In our world, in the commercial cleaning business world, that is, who's out there doing the cleanings, producing the result for the people that are paying for that result. So the production is doing the cleaning. The second main function is management. Someone has to make sure that all of these pieces and all these moving parts are functioning cohesively and that nothing is falling through the cracks. And not only that, there's also aspects of business management, making sure that everything is legal and a business continues to operate in a profitable manner. So this will be overseeing the cleanings and the staffing and the office, things like that. And then the third main part of a business is the growth. This is things like sales and marketing and finding efficiencies in the business and adding systems in that make things more profitable. Also, taking the time to learn how to do these things. And maybe you have a coach, maybe you do courses, maybe you're part of a franchise, whatever it is. These are things that help drive growth in the business. And without these 3 parts, a business is not going to function properly. And what you may have noticed is if you start from the entry-level positions in a company, such as in production, and then people get promoted into management, and then people get promoted into growth roles, which are higher leadership roles, or they are sales roles, marketing roles, things like that. That path up the company's chain becomes more and more complex, and it requires more skills and motivation to complete the tasks in each of those realms of the company. And what that does is it should tell you as the business owner what general order you should follow when taking things off of your shoulder as you set up your business. That's why everybody talks about getting rid of the cleaning first. It's entry level, it's lower value, it's completely necessary. The business falls apart if it doesn't get done, but there are so many people out there who can do cleaning. So your delegation priority is to offload cleaning as soon as possible, offload the production work. But then many commercial cleaning business owners make a absolutely detrimental mistake right here. Once they have a team in place, they get sucked into management. And usually what happens is management comes at the cost of growth. Management versus marketing and sales requires completely different skill sets, completely different levels of motivation, and completely different information that you have to implement into the business. So just because you offload the cleaning itself doesn't mean your company is actually going to continue to grow. You can actually manage your company until it dies. So what you have to do is find a way to offload the management even for yourself so that you can focus on implementing the growth for your business. So that is what the first tip is. You must delegate lowest value tasks first. And then you continue delegating lower value things. Don't ever delegate something that you could be doing that's really high value just because you don't want to do it. I highly encourage you, do that. Pave the way for it for whoever you're going to pass it to one day. But delegate all these other lower value things first and earn your way up as you go. Now, if you're anything like me, you might be saying, I don't want to pay massive salaries to people to run my business. And you're absolutely right to feel that way. And that's actually where we're going to get into our second tip here on how to automate your commercial cleaning business. But first, what's going to make implementing this second tip even easier and even more effective is going ahead and investing in janitorial management software. We use Clean Smarts to run our commercial cleaning business. It's designed to save you time, money, and help your business run even smoother while keeping you in the know about everything that's going on. So go to the link below, get Clean Smarts to run your commercial cleaning business better. And in this second tip, something like Clean Smarts is going to help us achieve something called wage arbitrage. What wage arbitrage is like the opposite of what we talked about us as owners, right? If we're doing all of these other tasks that are competing against each other at different values, then we're really losing money if we're not doing these maximal value tasks, right? Wage arbitrage is the opposite. It is if we take a $15 per hour person and we can have them produce the results of a $20 per hour person, suddenly we achieved a massive gain in our business. So what I was doing in my first year with my business that got us up to over $500,000 is I had cleaning team members actually doing the office work and the management for me. These are what I call hybrid roles. It's where you take a part of one job description and mix it with another job description. So yes, maybe I couldn't afford an expensive full-time manager at that point in our business, but what I could do is have different team members complete different parts of those tasks in the business and take 90% of the workload off my shoulders. And then what something like CleanSmarts does is it is a software that they can plug into, that they can use to do scheduling, to do time tracking, to help out with payroll, to help out with supply ordering, to do all the different things, even communicating with clients if I want to allow it. They can do so much to run the business on my behalf, and I can monitor it live. So now you take a $15 per hour person in my business, they were actually achieving probably $25 and $30 per hour work. We were doubling the efficiency that we could get out of them. And realistically, what this looked like is they would clean for 20 to 30 hours per week, and then they would do those management and supportive tasks and office tasks with their remaining hours. Now, you're going to have another temptation with this, and I'm going to give you a warning about it. What I do not encourage you to do is to mix management or production roles with growth roles. Operational tasks tend to use a different part of the brain and tend to have a certain group of skill sets that are supportive of each other in the operations side. Growth and marketing and sales and all these things are completely different skill sets. And as soon as you start trying to have someone jump between these skill sets, developing one, neglecting the other, and they got to do this task switch in their mind, it gets exhausting and it demotivates them in both worlds. So when it comes to hybrid roles, I encourage you to keep them in their zones. Yes, you can have somewhat of hybrid roles in the growth side if you have someone doing some light level office tasks or doing some light level marketing. But if you're going to have anyone like an operations manager, or if you're going to have anyone like a team member or a cleaner actually trying to help out on the growth side, I have personally not seen it go well. You can do your best with it if you want to. If you have someone that seems extra special, you can do it because you're the owner. You have to do it to grow your business. But remember how tired you get when you do it. So use hybrid roles and use CleanSmarts. That'll make your hybrid roles even more efficient. Now, this third tip is going to be around giving them clarity. Because one of the biggest failures as business owners is that we assume people know what they should do whenever we task them with it. We also all know we got to do some level of training, we got to do some level of having a job description for them, things like that. But we need to give them even more clarity to the point where they have accountability that's automatically installed, that's going to carry their behavior throughout the day towards results that you want. Because if you're having to oversee them all the time, if you're constantly having to micromanage them, then that's not building a passively run business for you. So the one thing that you can do to give them clarity in each of these different realms, production, management, and even once you get on to delegating the growth side, the one thing that you can do is set what are called KPIs. If you're not familiar with what KPIs are, then welcome to the world of being a CEO. KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator. And simply put, it's a measurement that they're responsible for with their job. For example, your cleaning team, one of the KPIs could be the number of complaints they receive. If they receive less than, say, 1 complaint a month, then their job is in good standing and they're doing a good job producing the work needed. However, if they receive 2 or 3 or 4 complaints within that certain period, then they're in trouble. Others might be the number of past inspections or the amount of cleaning time that was within budget. On the management side, you can have KPIs around turnover, profitability, customer retention, and things like that. So the mistake that you don't want to make is giving people too many KPIs. And the way to think about it is like this. The lower the level within your company, the less KPIs they need to be responsible for. So for your entry-level employees, for your production-level employees, maybe you just have 2 KPIs that their entire job revolves around. If they just do or achieve these 2 things that we can measure as a boss across our company, then our company is going to succeed, they're going to be successful at their job, and the company is going to grow. When you step up to the next level of management, then maybe you have 3 or 4 KPIs that they're responsible for that is a bit more detailed about the different parts of the business that help it run smoothly. So the more advanced the role, the more KPIs it can have. The less advanced the role, the less KPIs it needs. Because if you have too many, it's going to get too crowded and people aren't really going to follow them or aim for them. But here's what's really special and unique about KPIs and this approach to managing and delegating tasks to people in your business. What happens when you assign your cleaning teams the objective of we need a 98% passing grade on all inspections is now it's the job of management to train them and help support them in the success of achieving that KPI. Because if they're achieving that KPI, then everything else falls in place and it becomes our jobs as business owners to make it possible for our team. So now the training program that you might be wanting to put together isn't just about general cleaning. It's about how do we achieve this very specific result in the company. And now this person that's coming into your company has absolute clarity about how their role is going to be judged, what they're going to be held accountable for, and everything around their training is going to focus on. And with clarity comes confidence. And with confidence comes a high morale. With high morale comes great employees, great retention, great results, and ultimately results in a business that you love to own and that operates on its own. It is possible for you to own a commercial cleaning company that does operate on its own. If you want my help building a commercial cleaning company and becoming your own commercial cleaning CEO, just like what happened to me, then check out the links in the description down below. Thanks for watching. I'm Matt, your 7-figure commercial cleaning CEO, and until next time, keep building.